Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today, welcome to part 2 of our lesson Reproduction. So in part 1, as you know that we discussed about sexual reproduction in flowering plants and asexual reproduction. So now in part 2, we'll discuss about how reproduction takes place in humans. So, firstly, in how fertilization takes place in humans. In humans, the fertilization is internal. This means that in humans, humans cannot lay eggs in order to grow offspring. So, basically, the fertilization takes place in the uterus of the mother. So now let's get on to our part 2. Now puberty. Now what do you mean by puberty? So basically during adolescence is the time where we attain many changes in our body in order to attain sexual maturity. So the starting of the adolescence age is known as the puberty. So basically, puberty starts in boys at the age of 11 to 16 and for girls at the age of 10 to 15. So now what happens during this puberty? What happens during puberty? So during puberty I forgot to mention, so basically for fertilization there should be some specialized cells known as gametes. So gametes are basically the cells either it can be a sperm or a egg, but gamete are the specialized cells used in sexual reproduction. So now let's get on to our question. So what happens during puberty? So during puberty, as male contain as gamete called sperm and female contain a gamete known as egg. So on the set of puberty, during the time of puberty, the sperms get mature in the male and will be produced and eggs will get matured in the females during the puberty. So it occurs like this. Now let's move on to the male reproductive system. So this is the male reproductive system. So the male reproductive system has something known as scrotum. This is known as the scrotum. Here the sperms are produced in a pair of testes. So testes is the male reproductive part which releases a hormone called testosterone. So sperms are produced with a pair of testes. So basically it is situated outside the scrotum. So the sperms are situated outside the abdominal cavity in this scrotum. So now we'll show you how a sperm looks. So this is a picture of a sperm, how a sperm looks. So basically a sperm is a single cell with the entire usual cell component. it is a single cell basically, and it is a male reproductive gamete. So now each sperm is basically has a head, tail, and a middle part. So this is the head of the sperm, and that is the tail of the sperm. So now let's move on. Now basically sperms are stored and matured in testes. As I said, in testes. So sperms are stored and matured. Means they will attain maturity. Everything is done in the testes only. So basically when reproduction occurs, then the sperms which are located in the testes are carried by a sperm ducts known as Vas Deferens to the urethra present in penis. So basically, during reproduction, sperms which are matured in the testes are carried by Vas Deferens, which is known as sperm ducts to the urethra which is present in penis. Sent in penis. So basically, now as I said you, what happens during reproduction? The sperm ducts carry the sperms to the penis and to the urethra which is present in the penis for reproduction. So now what is penis? So basically, penis is the organ which transfers sperms into the female reproductive tract. So basically, penis is the organ which transfers sperms into the female reproductive tract. So basically, sperms are carried when reproduction occurs between a male and a female, and the penis carries the sperms into the female reproductive tract for fertilization to occur. So, as I said, now let's go to another part of the male reproductive system, that is prostate. So what is prostate? So prostate is an organ in the male reproductive system which secretes fluid that nourishes and protects the sperm. That's the sperm. So prostate secretes a fluid which nourishes and protects the sperm. So now you have an idea about the male reproductive system. So now let's move on to the female reproductive system. So this is the female reproductive system. So female reproductive system contains uterus, fallopian tube, ovaries, cervix and vagina. Now we will know the functions about the following parts, and which will give a clear idea about the female reproductive system. So now let's get started. Now first, what is female reproductive system? So basically, female reproductive system contains organs with a pair of ovaries, uterus, a fallopian tube, cervix and vagina. These are located in the lower part of the abdomen. The female reproductive system is basically a complex system of several organs that produces egg cells and nourishes and protects the developing embryo. So basically, as I said in the beginning, the fertilization takes place in the mother's womb, which is nothing but in the uterus of the mother, in the female reproductive system. So now let's go to the function of the female reproductive system. So now vagina. So basically, vagina is a sexual organ in female. It extends from cervix, of the uterus to the exterior of the body. So what is vagina? So it's a sexual organ in the female, as I showed in the pic. This is the vagina. This extends from the cervix, which is present in the uterus, to the exterior of the body. So now let's go to the second one, which is cervix. So cervix is a narrow opening of the uterus. So as I show you in the pic, the cervix is the narrow opening in the of the uterus. Now uterus. So what is uterus? So as I said before, uterus is the part where development of baby takes place. So, and next let's go to ovary. So ovary are the part of the female reproductive system which release eggs. Or ovums when a female reaches puberty. So now we have discussed about ovary. Now what about the fallopian tube? So what is fallopian tube? So fallopian tube is a tube extending from the upper sides of the uterus. So these are tubes extending from upper side of uterus, which are just above the ovaries, where sperm and egg meet and fertilization occurs. So this is what a fallopian tube means. So now you have idea about the two reproductive systems of males and females. Now let's see how fertilization takes place in this. So now, fertilization in humans. So first what happens? Fusion of gametes fusion of gametes, then it results in the form of zygote or an embryo, then the zygote develops into a fetus into an embryo. The embryo is now implanted in the lining of the uterus. So, uterus has a thick lining through which the embryo is implanted, and this is called implantation. Then, after 2 months, the embryo becomes a fetus. So, after fetus, it takes 9 months. So, after 9 months, it forms a newborn baby. So, what is this 9 months period known as? This is known as the gestation period. And finally, you will have a newborn baby. So, this is what the fertilization in humans is. Now, basically, during the process of after the process of fertilization, when the embryo is implanted, the placenta is responsible for providing nutrients, oxygen, and removing waste substances from the embryo, and it's responsible for providing oxygen and nutrients to it. So now you have a clear idea of what is fertilization. So now let's go to some more deep. Let's go to types. Let's go to types of fertilization. So there are basically 2 types of fertilization. One is external fertilization. So external fertilization is the process where the fertilization does not take place in the womb of mother, but it takes place in the external. Basically, some animals like birds, alligators, and etc. use external fertilization. Because external fertilization is where the female lays eggs and the male produces sperms, and the sperms fuse with the eggs in the external. So basically birds are one, and next crocodiles also. So when an egg is released, the sperms swim to the egg and they fuse in order to form the embryo. So now you know what's external. So now what is internal fertilization? So internal fertilization is the process which takes place in the mother. This means that internal fertilization is not like external fertilization, like laying eggs. So basically the fertilization takes place in the mother's womb. So one good example for this is us. We are humans. We humans produce different types of gametes and they fuse within the female reproductive system. So now I explained you about external and internal fertilization. So now let's go to sex determination. So before going to sex determination, there is another type of fertilization known as in vitro fertilization. So in this, in vitro fertilization, what happens is that the fertilization in this method, the ovum or the zygote is allowed to grow on the outside the body of the female. The zygote so developed is allowed to grow in vitro. So in this time, in this fertilization, the zygote is allowed to grow for about a week in vitro, which is nothing but a glass, and after 1 week it is the embryo is again planted in the female's womb. So a baby who is born of this type of fertilization is known as a test tube baby. So now I explained about in vitro fertilization. So now let's go to sex determination. So how is the sex of a baby determined? So basically the sex of a baby is determined by the somatic cell in human beings. So the somatic cell in human beings has basically 23 pairs of chromosomes. The chromosomes in the last are known as sex chromosomes. They are of 2, X and Y. In male, the last pair of chromosomes contains an X and a Y chromosomes. So a sperm contains a X or a Y chromosome, whereas the female, the egg contains only X chromosome. So when a sperm fertilizes with an egg, it can form the sperm with the X chromosome fertilizes with the egg, then it's a baby girl. So, but when a sperm fertilizes with Y chromosome with the egg, then it's a baby boy. So now you have a clear idea of how sex of a baby is determined. So sex of a baby does not depend on the mother, and blaming her is totally unjustified. So basically the unborn baby's sex is determined by the father's sex. So that's it for our part 2. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and there will be many more videos like this one. So thank you.